and welcome to the Hobo CEO podcast, where we're talking all things business and entrepreneurship, including the highs and lows, with a sprinkle of neurodiversity for good measure. I'm your host, Shae Wissell, neurodivergent serial entrepreneur, personal and business coach, author, researcher, and most importantly, a mother to one beautiful little human being. This podcast is all about sharing the entrepreneurial journey, as well as tips, tricks, and advice from my guests to help you become the business owner and entrepreneur you've always imagined you could be. And you definitely can be that person. But before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the beautiful lands on which I live and work, the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And I pay my respects to elders past, present, and to all First Nations people that are listening today. So let's get started. Hello, Marnie. Welcome back to the series we're creating right now. I'm super excited to talk to you. And as we discussed, I'm going to try and keep to time today. But I'm really looking forward to talking to you today about sales, not just because of your amazing expertise, but also because, as we've talked about before, my, not reluctance, but needing to build my confidence still around selling.
Yep.
I'm really pleased that we can have this conversation today.
Oh, well, it's great to be here again, Shae. It's always lots of fun having a chat with you, and we always learn lots together. So that's cool.
We do. I don't want to get sidetracked, but our spirituality talk we ended up having last time.
That's right. That was a sidetrack. Yeah, a little sidebar there.
Sidetrack. So
let's crack into selling and see what we can pontificate on together.
That sounds great, because when I first started the foundation, the foundations were on podcasts and not really selling. And I mean, we did a lot of work around awareness raising and fundraising. And fundraising is sales in a way, I guess.
Absolutely.
Trying to get your sponsorship and sell tickets and things like that. But we never really cracked the market around actually selling our products to the broader or the wider masses. So as a new business, what would you say, like, how can we reinforce the importance of sales? Because I think we get so caught up in doing all the other activities and all the exciting things that sometimes sales might not be something that we build into our business plan.
Yes, and yet it's the most essential thing in your business plan. So what I say to everyone I meet when it comes to selling, and, you know, when I speak in keynotes and at the front of the room and all of that thing, is you're not in the business that you think you're in the business of selling. So we start and launch businesses with the idea that our idea or our product or our service is fantastic, and we want to help others, help the world, change the world, do something really positive in the world. But what we don't understand is that we also need to learn to become good at selling. In fact, that should be almost our number one goal alongside building the business, is learning and getting comfortable with sales. Now, you may not be in sales forever and ever, but you need to know enough about it so that you can even at some point lead a team. So if you're not selling well in your business, you're never going to have a team to work with. But it's all about getting really experienced in learning about selling. And the first reaction, of course, is what, Shae? What do people sort of say? The most common reaction to sales is, what would you guess?
Oh, they're like used car salesmen. It's
just
freaky.
Icky.
It's just, it's, even though we're sold to all the time, subliminal. All the time.
Yeah.
Through strong marketing, you automatically think of negative thought.
Well, you do. You go to that icky, slimy sales thing. The only time you can ever remember being sold to, it was a yucky experience. And the reason is because your good experiences, you don't remember, because they're just normal, right? So, you know, you go to the grocery store daily, weekly, whatever, you buy. Well, why did you buy that product? Why did you buy that thing? You're still being sold to. Advertising sells to you, people sells, you sell yourself every single day. You get up, you dress a certain way, you act a certain way. That's a form of selling yourself. Sure, if you're not interacting with anyone and you're just in a tracksuit, who cares? But you every single day in business, you are selling yourself, selling your business, and selling your product or service. So you have to learn to, first of all, change your attitude around selling and almost do a mantra like, I love selling. I love selling. Because if I love selling, because that feeling I get when I've sold someone and I know that I can now help change their life, change their business, change their outcome, change their results. Now, if I wasn't effective at selling them in the first place, or in my belief system, it's more just helping them get out of their own way to move towards what they want and need in their lives. So sales is about sort of helping people get out of their own way and I'm not talking about convincing them to buy things that they don't need or want. That's not selling in my world. It's just basically helping them to make a decision and back themselves so that you can then go on to, if it's a product, you can then go on to help them improve their skin or their hair, and it's not even that. It's help them to improve their confidence. So if we really dig into, what is the problem and how can you be the solution, then the problem isn't that they don't have great skincare. The problem is that they have acne, and whenever they walk into a room, they lack the confidence and self-assurance because they just feel everybody's looking at their acne, right? I'm using a very basic example. But so if you, in selling, help them to understand that your product can help with their acne, and then it does, what a beautiful feeling. That's not selling. That's just helping people to overcome a problem that is holding them back in life, in my opinion. There are a lot of people out there, Shae, that buy things and don't. They buy they buy the solution without then doing the work. So that can be the solution, let's say business coaching. They buy the solution, but then they put absolutely no work, energy, and effort into actually doing what their business coach kind of guides them to do. So they end up having to blame someone. So they blame it was a sales thing or whatever. Most humans, if you sell authentically, won't come back and say, I was pressured into it. But yeah, selling is all about, it's not selling, it's helping. And when you can get your mindset right around selling, then, everything changes. But you do need to know that you are not in the business of whatever you're in, you are always in the business of selling.
I think that's when I started out in business. I just had no concept around that. And in time, I've learned the importance of it, especially working with you, Marnie, and the Fempire coaches and our team that we work within. But sometimes you're just so excited about what you've created, you don't really think about the strategy to get it out into the world and how
that's what we call a technician in business. Michael Gerber's, his book, Anyway, Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, thank God it came to me, talks about, you're a technician, and so many people that go into business are technicians, and that's, they're great at what they do, but they need to be great managers and also great at selling. So you need to know what you are. If you're a technician, then you better have the infrastructure and the funds to build your, behind your weak spots. So management and selling, sales and selling and marketing. And that's where you might look at getting investors, et cetera, because you're terrible at selling. Now, if you're terrible at selling, you're not interested in selling, don't start a business. Because even if you're the head CEO or your partner CEO and you can't sell yourself, you can't sell your idea, you can't, even to get investors in the business, you've got to sell your idea. So, if you're not wired that way, then you're going to have to get a really strong business partner who is, and understand that that's just not your thing, or go work for someone. Look, be honest with yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not prepared to change, and this isn't how I'm wired. I'm completely uncomfortable with people and I really don't want to deal with them. Just go get a job. Not everyone needs to be great at selling, but not a job in sales, I would suggest.
I think for me, it was a trauma as a young adult leaving school and working for the store Jeans West So like it was like a sports girl still around.
Yeah.
And I remember being told to upsell this lady these clothes that looked terrible on her. I just couldn't do it. It went against my authentic self. And I think after that, I had this thing around sales that I'm now breaking that trauma.
Yeah, well, look back on it and forgive that little girl for just trying to please people and feeling conflicted. But I think that's a key part of selling is you have to feel authentic. So saying no to the upsell on that particular person was integral and absolutely part of selling. There is a point where, upselling, especially in retail, is very, very valid. And we also have to remember just because we don't think the customer looks good in it doesn't mean the customer doesn't think they look good in it. And if the customer thinks they look good in it, then you let them feel and look good in it. Taste is relative. It's all in the individual's understanding of their own style. So first of all, you brought in judgment, which is your first biggest mistake. When you're selling, the only thing you should be doing is asking questions, really, and trying to understand the customer more. So yes, upsell this item to this customer for sure. So, but first, ask the question, do you think you'd look good in this? If the question is, well, I could, yeah, well, why don't you try it on and see? And then we'll take a look. How does that feel? Okay. So it's more about the person in control of the questions is in control of the sale, right? But it doesn't mean that you're not in tech. If the customer says to you, God, I think I look hideous, what do you think? You don't turn around and say, well, I think you look beautiful. Or you would say, I think you look beautiful, but that's not the shirt for you. Let's see what else we can find, right? So, and then you develop trust and people trust you. And then you literally come from a service, helping, serving, not selling, and the item sells itself. So yes, you could have sold to 47 different things in Jane's West. They might have just had a couple of bumps that they wanted you to push, which was just poor selling training. But if they trained you all properly, and maybe you're also very young and maybe lack confidence and thought, who am I to tell this woman what she should and shouldn't be wearing? And that's all part of the journey. But it's all about finding out the problem. What is this? How does this woman want to feel? What does she feel she looks good in? What do I think might really work for her? And go get it presented and say, what do you think? And I think you'd look really good in this, but try it on and let's see. And if she comes out, as I said, looking hideous or not looking hideous, because nobody looks hideous, it just, some things don't suit certain people. You go, I don't think that's what first of all is, what do you think? Because if she says, I think I look fabulous, you go, wonderful. I'm so happy that you feel that way. You're still not being authentic. You are happy she feels that way. You just never wear it, maybe. Does that make sense? Is that a good, does that help, Shae, or does it make you go, feel bad?
No, it reflects on how, it makes me think about how I responded to my auntie's tile she's getting put into her house. Have you ever seen that YouTube video? Oh, it's an avocado. This girl is so excited about unwrapping a present, and when she does, it's an avocado, and she goes, oh, it's an avocado. We use that a lot in our house. When someone gives us something that like your auntie shows you the tiles and you go, oh, it's an avocado. So anyway. Oh, that's very Italian.
See, not negative, not positive, just, oh, okay. Do you like them? Do you? What? Okay. Awesome. You don't have to be. You can be excited for the person. You don't, and everyone doesn't have the same style. So
I think what I've learned over our time together is the concept of not selling but serving, because particularly for the work I do, it is serving to improve life outcomes for people. So I think sometimes when you're working in the humanitarian health kind of space, sometimes it can feel odd to try and sell something that's improving someone's quality of life. But if we look at everything that's sold to us, it's trying to improve our quality of life, isn't it?
Well, we're conditioned to believe that it will. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But ice cream is going to make you look very sexy. Not.
Well, it depends how, first of all, the gaze. What gaze are we looking at? If we're looking at someone eating an ice cream and loving it, enjoying it, yes, it does make us look sexy and wonderful and gorgeous, or cute and whatever, if we're a tiny child or whatever. Yeah, that does. But then if it's eat ice cream every day and just stack on the weight, then no, it's not. But see how I changed that pitch?
Yes, you did a great
job. And it's all perception. And I'm not saying, and the perception, it's depending on what the problem is. So if the person's problem is, I'm going on a date and I kind of want to look a bit sexy. This is a really bad example, but you know, but I'm worried. Anyway, the ice cream can be pitched in. And of course, ice cream sellers pitch it as a sexy or delicious or one of those positive experiences for the human body rather than the results of too much ice cream later on.
I don't want to go down a garden path again.
Yeah, we did. It's complex. It's complex. But the first thing I think with selling, Shae, is understanding, like you said, we weren't really selling when we were going for sponsorship. Yeah, you're selling investment, sponsorship, grants, you name it, you're selling. Grants are a little bit more structured. You fill out the form and blah, blah, blah. But that still you have to put all the right touch points in that form to meet the requirements to get the grant. So you're always selling. So you're using positive language. You're asking great questions. You're delivering your pitch. There's definitely a structure to a great sale. And that is managing objections before you even pitch, before you even sort of tell anybody about your program. First of all, is ask lots of questions so you can get clear on your prospect's pain and what their problem is. If you don't think that you know it, because the problem is not bad skin, the problem is how they feel with that bad skin. And everybody will feel different. You might see it as a confidence problem, but they might see it as I don't get respect in the workplace because I have such shocking skin and it distracts people. It might be, if it was, let's say, a husband and wife situation, and we'll go back to the kind of weight thing, and she just wants to lose weight. There are so many different reasons that women want to lose weight. And it might be, you know, that I just want my husband to find me sexy again, which really comes down to she just wants to feel sexy again, right? So you're really digging into, really trying to find out what her problem is so that you can address that problem in your delivery of the pitch and manage any objections based on. So if you say, well, that's really expensive, Shae, you go, well, how much would you pay to ensure that you feel sexy again and feel confident, and really when you put that dress on, you feel like yourself instead of how you describe feeling the other way. So yeah, there are the biggest and the most important thing that you have to do is get the client really clear on their problem. And it's either a desire problem, like they desire to look and feel a certain way and they want to get to that desire, or they want to move away from. So they want to move away from feeling a certain way. So they want to move toward something or away from something. And you've just got to work out what that something is and then address it in your delivery of how you can help them, assuming you can. You never sell them something for the sake of selling them if you can't deliver, if you're just trying to get runs on the board, so which you'd never do. So that's fine. But yeah.
So if we take a step back and we are looking at our business plan, what are some of the key things that we should be building in to our sales?
Structure. Absolute structure. So key things that your sales projections are obviously in your business plan are very key, but then you can project whatever you like, but you need a strategy around how you achieve that. So the kinds of selling that you're going to do, which will come out in how you're going to market your business. It's your funnel. How, first of all, where will you get your first leads, clients and customers? What will you be doing? How will you find them, or how will they find you? And how many you expect will, come on board is that funnel that we're talking about. So where you're going to get your leads, clients and customers from, or your potential prospects. And then how you're going to convert them. Is it going to be through, so let's say you have a Facebook ad strategy that you're going to implement. And then from that strategy, you're going to funnel people to a webinar. And then in the webinar, you're going to pitch the product or service. And then from that pitch, you will close a certain amount. Or you might, from the pitch, you might actually close in the webinar, or you might close to having a further conversation with them. And then you might close one-on-one. So that's sort of an example of that's the marketing funnel that gets you to the sales conversation. And then in that one-on-one is the sales conversation, and you wouldn't map that out in your business plan. You would map that out in training and deep dive train your business people to convert, and that's how you come. So, but then you'll need to do your numbers based on that funnel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, this is sort of high overview of selling. But yes, that you would map it out as a marketing strategy and then have how you're going to sell. Now, you might sell directly in the webinar. And so that comes more to the experience of the person delivering the webinar, because we've all been to great webinars and we've all been to not so great webinars, and people that try to sell in those webinars that don't have the experience of selling from stage or selling from Zoom or selling in a group. And that is a very different energy to selling one-on-one. Selling one-on-one is much easier because you can identify the singular problem, whereas selling from the stage, you are talking to a group mentality, so you need to know the group mentality's problem and then pitch and seed through that and speak about that. That's a whole different conversation that we discussed doing a podcast on for people that did want to become powerful personal brands and sell from stage, because not many women do, and actually not many people do. I'm passionate about getting more women out there selling on stage for obvious reasons, because I have a company called Fempa. But yeah, it's a different kettle. With your sales, I'm going to give you a brief outline of what a sales journey might look like. Would that be helpful?
I think yes, it would. I think because it's a lot of planning goes into getting this right. If you're thinking of your sales funnel, your marketing, like there's a lot of components that go together to create this journey for a customer.
Yeah, there's planning and there's practice. Where people fall down is practice and persistence. So the 3 Ps: planning, practice, persistence. 50% of your
down.
Okay, good.
Need to do that last one.
Planning, practice, and persistence.
Persistence bit.
Persistence. That's by your own admission where you fall down a bit, right? You just get frustrated, and then you're like, they would know if they wanted to work with me. And 50% of our conversions happen in the follow-up. Persistent follow-up. And I'm talking 1 month, 3 months, 12 months, okay? 50%. Because sometimes people are just not ready to buy. Sometimes their pain is not severe enough to say yes to your price point yet. And some will never buy, but you follow them up until they kind of give you a no. Lots of people ghost you. And even the ghosters, we still follow up with every 3 months. So it's like, hey, just sort of touch base. Look, a girl was ghosting Vampire for, might have been 12 months. And then suddenly she came back on the radar. It blew us all, blew me away. I was like, well, there you go. That proves the theory. But as long as you have a system so that follow-up is not hard and laborious and this, that, and the other. So planning or structure, okay? So the structure is understanding how to manage a sale. And there is a definite structure to it, which we can't really unpack in half an hour, but it's about building rapport. It's about understanding what the problems and pain points are. Is it away from? Is it towards? How do you pitch that? Is it goals focused? Is it pain away from pain focused? Okay. And then you unpack that with the client and customer. You address their objections within that sale, that area of the selling journey, rather than at the end after you've pitched, you're managing objections. So you'll unpack. So some common objections are time. I don't have the time to do this. Yeah, which is always the frustrating objection to me, because it's like, why are you on this call then if you're so busy you can't do it? And also they'll manage objection where they'll say, yes, they want to do it. And yes, they have the time. And then after you've pitched the investment, they'll decide they don't have the time. You go, oh, really? Because we discussed that earlier and this is what you said. And you don't say it as trying to call them out. And you just be honest. Is it more of an investment thing? Is this a little bit high for you? And then at least you're addressing the right problem in the objections. Okay. So you're in there trying to unpack their pain points, their problems, and address any objections before you get there. All right. Then before you get to the pitch, then you'll have a transition where you say, okay, I think I understand what you've explained. You might reflect back to them what they've said so they feel that you've heard them. And then you'll move on to the pitch. And so there's a transition. I like to put in on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't think this is a solution for me, and 10 being, sign me up, putting the investment aside, where do you think you'd sit? And that gives me a really good understanding of if there's gaps that I need to fill. So there's a little tip to bring into your sales discussions we call it taking a temperature check. Then you move them to the pitch, and your pitch needs to be designed a certain way for people, and it has to have structure.
At Rethink Dyslexia, we are doing things differently. As a global leader in creating inclusive environments for adults with dyslexia, our commitment is to provide individuals with opportunities to live healthier, happier, and more connected lives. Through our range of tailored services, including coaching, learning and development programs, consultancy, and training, we're helping dyslexic individuals, businesses, and organisations to better understand and support their dyslexic employees. So if you're looking for insights, inspiration, and expert advice on dyslexia and how you can provide inclusive practices and environments, then head to rethinkdyslexia.com to find out more, or book your free consultation today.
So when we're selling a coach, we sell it with three pillars, or the three-legged stool. We deliver the certification, coaching certification, which is all the knowledge, is the academy. It's understanding how to be a powerful business coach. Our second pillar, or leg of the stool, without one leg, the stool tips over and people give up on their business, is the coaching with best business practices. So we help you build your coaching business. So we certify you as a business coach. We help you build your coaching business. And the third pillar is the sisterhood, which is the most powerful pillar, actually, because once you're certified, you're certified. Once you built your business, you built your business. But it's the sisterhood that keeps you going, keeps you learning, keeps you motivated, keeps you. Would you agree? Because you're obviously one of our coaches.
Yes, I think that has been the most, the biggest change for me working as a solopreneur.
It's powerful. Yeah.
Is being able to come together. And for me, I rarely miss a week because I just find the motivation and the opportunity to touch base with everyone and to get feedback on how I'm traveling is really, really important.
Yeah, and you always get a gold nugget, I think, even when we go into office hours and start talking. I have no idea what's going to come up, but there's always whatever is needed seems to be discussed. And it's nice to have that sisterhood of people that just really, support each other. So that's why people hang around in FemPar, because you built your business, you've got your programs out there, blah, blah, blah. You've been certified. Now it's the sisterhood. So so they're the three pillars. Now, did I go into heavy structure and you'll get a Slack channel and you'll get this and you'll have that and you'll be coaching. You get into the weeds after you've determined people. That's enough of keep it simple. Okay. What we do often in sales pitches is we get too complex. Keep it simple. The top 3 or 4 positive results-driven things that they get from your service or your product is the way to pitch. And if you're not sure on how to work with a sales coach, work with someone who can help you to unpack that, because it's super important. It's super important to know those things. Okay. So, and then you might do a temperature check after you pitch. You can do it before, you can do it after. Money aside, scale of 1 to 10, where do you sit? And they'll let you know. But actually, that's the pitch. I haven't even done the investment. So you would do it after the pitch, but not after the investment. Okay. So then you tell them how much it's going to cost. And then you shut up, which is what most people don't do. They carry on and they justify and justify and then condemn themselves. You don't bring your own belief system. If you think you have an expensive program, you're never going to be able to sell it because your beliefs, your energy, your belief system just won't be able to do it. So you've got to believe that your program is worth every penny, and then you pitch. So it's $10,000 to do this program with me. Do you have any questions? Also, so the investment is $10,000 for the year.
The lesson learnt from you, Marnie, was never put that in writing. Always talk about it.
When you're pitching, spilled out of context.
So when you're pitching,
don't say
When people, I say, can you tell me what the price is? Because you've been talking to them, and if you're not live at the time, don't put it in writing. Talk to people first before.
So don't send over a proposal or have prices on your website, depending on the company. Try to get them in the calendar. Yeah, and because people, you have to build trust and rapport. If you don't build trust and rapport, it doesn't matter what, unless you're super cheap, and then please just send them the price and it's going to sell itself or it isn't. Or you have an incredible landing page and it sells the service for you, or the product for you, which, if done well, can happen. But when we get up into the thousands, like the 5K, 10K, 15, etc., people need that personal connection. Cold leads need that personal connection. They're not going to hand it over without talking to a human first. We even get that through our Facebook ads. We get people that come straight and book into our calendar, fill out the questionnaire and the rest of it. And then we get people who don't, but we have our team call them. They just wanted to speak to a person. And then they book in. They just wanted that human connection because Facebook's impersonal. So we actually have a lot more success placing people in the calendar when we call them, even though they didn't go through to book in the first place. So you've got to have different sales strategies in place as well. Sales, things that you have to do, like touch points, or you won't succeed either. It sounds complicated, but honestly, Shae, once you know it, learn it, you can't unlearn it. You might get horrible at doing it every now and then. You might have to remind yourself, I do have to follow these people up. I'm just going to keep following up until I get a no. And that sounds obnoxious, but it's not. It's just what a good salesperson does.
But I think also learning how to automate can help with some of that.
Definitely.
And that's what that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned through the program is the importance of automation and how it can work and all the different things you can showcase through automation.
Yeah.
So we leads.
Yeah. So we use not only, Facebook, we then send an SMS, we send emails. Once we've had the sales call, we have autoresponders for people that don't book. They go into a funnel that gets other emails to nurture the lead. And it's really good to set up your automations because you can't do everything. And if you're investing in, you're spending a lot of time, energy and effort to get these leads. So manage them properly. So when you get a cold lead too, like if Empire sent you some cold leads and you were like, oh my God, how do I manage these? It really is that connect, build rapport, talk about the program, yada, 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 what we just went through. But then if you can't close them there and then, because one, you're not experienced, you haven't had enough practice, or two, whatever, you just keep following them up. And you definitely try to book a second call. You go, okay, well, you want to think about it. That's fantastic. Would you let's get a date in the calendar to chat about when you've made a decision, or I can just answer questions, or I can give you some fantastic tips to move ahead with should you choose not to join us. So please turn up to the second call because you're going to get a piece of wisdom no matter what, and that at least gives you a chance to address their objections again, even if they turn up with a no. But you get them on a second call in the diary. It's not great. You want to try and close them in the first, but sometimes it just takes a bit more nurture.
And it's interesting when you said someone, it was 12 months later, because I think sometimes we're impatient and we forget that it's a marathon. And if we want our businesses to be around in 10 years, then actually 12 months isn't that long.
No.
But because we want it immediately, like how I talk to you and you say, Shae, you've only really started this new business in January, and I'm complaining to you sometimes. But if you try to have that mindset, I think of, well, in 10 years, you want your sales team and you want this, like you've seen my whiteboard mapped out, my 5 years. And then it helps, I think, to remind you that it's okay if someone recontacts in 12 months.
Yeah.
Because you're here for the long term. You're not here for a short time.
You can also automate that as well.
Which is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. You just get a bit shocked when someone comes through the automation and you forgot. But yeah, you can automate that as well. But I highly recommend a more personal touch, which is give them a call or send them a text or something like that. But yeah, you can at least, if you're time poor or people poor, as you're growing your business, automate. And that way at least you're getting that touch point in, even if you forget. But a great salesperson will put it in their diary and literally give the person a call.
Like Angie.
You have to not be afraid of speaking to people, which is a lot of, or rejection, afraid of it. You can't take things personally. In fact, in life, if you learn not to take anything personally, all the gurus will tell you, don't take anything personally. That's what the 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. One of the 4 is one of the, are you looking at your bookshelf?
Yeah, because I'm like, I know I've got that book. I haven't read it all yet, but it's sitting there.
Yeah, it's one of the 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. So if you need to be like that in sales, because sometimes you'll ring someone, they just hang up on you. If you take that personally, you're going to be like, oh, all right, then I thought this person really wanted to work with me, but clearly they don't. Or they're having a bad day or whatever. And people ghosting you, and sometimes you just got to get in that, that without a few hang-ups, I'm not helping enough people. If I'm not getting any hang-ups, I'm probably not having enough sales conversations. So
that's a good way to look at it. And what I've found is that I have people contacting me that I haven't tried to sell to, but because I've had my community and been up and running for 7 years, people are coming to me now. I had a lady the other day who's potentially signing up. She's transitioning into a different role. And when she moves into that new role, she wants to sign up for coaching. But she had come to an event I ran 4 years ago.
Yep.
Remember me? It's like,
yep.
And I had to think back. But she said, oh, I've been watching you and it's so great, all the things you do, and I really need help. And I've had a few people recently that have come back to me that I've spoken to on a podcast or something years ago that are now saying, could I please have some help? So you don't realize sometimes that how your touch points without even doing a lot, if that makes sense. Like you are doing a lot, but that you don't realize the impact you're having.
Yeah, as much as people try to convince us that businesses can be a short game and you can have that laptop lifestyle and blah, blah, blah. I mean, yes, I can set my business up anywhere in the world and do Zooms, and that's what I love about the company that I've built, but it still takes work. It takes focus and persistence. But let's get on to so we started with planning. So that's get your structure, understand your strategy, make sure you know your pitch, your template, have your sales template ready to go so that you feel really confident going in. Make sure you stay in control of the questions to discover the pain points. As soon as the client gets in control of the questions, here's a great blocker too. But how much is it, Shae? Just how much is it? Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, listen, I can't tell you that until we've unpacked exactly what you need. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Even if it is a one-size-fits-all, it's not a one-size-fits-all program. And I need to qualify if you find out if you're even qualify or whatever your terminology is, okay? And I've had girls just say, would you just tell me? Just tell me. And I go, all right, it's $4 billion. And I just make a joke of it. And I said, because until I get clear, that's how much it is. So they back off. So that's how you kind of take back control, because that's just a person just trying to grab control. I want to know how much. If they're making a buying decision based on how much it is, they're not a client you want to be working with, because they're just looking potentially for the cheapest whatever. They can race you along, but I have also sometimes always done all my research and I literally am just turning up to find out, what the investment is. But I sit through the pitch, damn it, and I let the salesperson do their thing, because you just have, that's good manners. So, and I might get a few pearls of wisdom that I didn't know after doing my research. But yeah, so that's one way to get around getting the questions, the human taking the control of the conversation away from you. The questions are good at the end, don't get me wrong there, but going down a rabbit hole of questions, sometimes you just have to bring it back to, are you ready? Because you'll end up answering, you want them to feel that there's still more curiosity. Okay, so that there's still more to be learned if they engage with you. If you unpack everything in front of them, they'd be like, well, who cares? And sometimes I trip over that too in over helping, over trying to support. But yeah, just always be mindful of bringing the questions back into your basket, I guess. Where was I going with this? Okay, so planning. What was the second one?
We've got 3 Ps. We've got planning, something, and persistence.
Oh, it's just something.
What's the middle P? Sorry, I forgot that middle one because I was too busy.
You've got to write it down. Persistence, planning. Yeah, I can't remember now either. Great. Let's talk about persistence. Life has no answer for persistence, basically. And sales has no answer for persistence, which is you just need to be structured enough in your own planning that you continue to follow up your leads. We've kind of already touched on it. But let's say you take a month off because you're just exhausted with your persistence. Just know that that's going to bite you in the butt down the road. You're going to have a really bad sales month down the road because you haven't done the work upriver, okay? Or up the road to ensure that you're getting those opportunities down the road, okay? So, yeah, just there's a lot of people out there. So when I'm speaking in a room and I say to people, look, who met someone, maybe at networking, sent one email off and never heard back from them. And so they never sent another email and half the room will go up, if not more. Because why? Because, they didn't want me to bother them. They didn't, there's all your own stuff. But how do you know they went on holiday? How do you know it didn't go to junk? How do you know they didn't mean to respond to you but then forgot because they got too busy? You know none of it. So you send another email and they might ignore you. Then send another one and they might ignore you. And then, a couple of weeks later, you send another one. And then a month later, you send another one. The best thing I try to do if someone says, look, I'm just super busy right now, I always go, well, let's get a date in the diary for 3 months from now. Are you okay with that? And then I don't have to keep following them up. Although I might send them a little lead magnet, or I might send them hey, just a touch base, checking how you're going, looking forward to seeing you in August. Sometimes if I have the time to do that, or I'll put them in a funnel that will nurture them until our meeting, like send them 3 different emails or something like that. So it's the persistence, Shae. So with your corporates, you're like, I just get so frustrated because they sound like they really need it and then suddenly I don't hear from them. And it really is that being annoying because the loudest voice is heard, right? So you just need to keep being persistent in your getting back in touch. And I promise you it pays off in the end. Don't worry about people ghosting you. That's, like I said, if you haven't got a few hang-ups and a few ghosts, and I'm not talking cold calling, I'm talking hang-ups from a list that have come off Facebook, some sort of marketing that you're doing. But because people still fill in their details and then hang up on you, whatever. If you're not getting enough of those, then you're not trying hard enough. But the same goes with being ghosted. If you haven't been ghosted or have a few no-shows, then you're not having enough sales conversations, right? But there are ways to get around no-shows and ghosts and things. But again, we'll trip over time. That's a whole sales course. If you want to learn that, join Fempire, as long as you identify as female.
And a really good way to motivate you around sales, I find, is looking at your P&L at the end of the month.
Yes.
Seeing which I did today. I was doing all my finances in a bit of downtime. And because I have my financial goals on my whiteboard and then I do my P&L and I go, it's not quite meeting my financial goals that I had on my whiteboard. That is another reinforcing way to think, well, I need to be doing those follow-ups more frequently.
Yeah, it's the projections. I think that was the middle one we said, because we just made it up as we went. Hey? So it is establishing goals for your selling. If you don't have them, how can you achieve them and how can you see where you're going? So, and it's a good habit to get into, because if you start to grow a sales team, you'll need to be able to give them accurate projections. But you do your own projections. You say, right, well, I'm going to close from 3 calls a day, 15 calls a week. I'm going to close, at 30%, which is 5 clients, right? And those clients are going to pay me $10,000. And that, there you go. There's a $50,000 week. I'm just using round figures, but and then if the first day you haven't closed anyone, you need to break it down to a daily delivery. Okay. So, well, it's 3 calls a day. Some days will be 2 calls, other days will be 4 calls, but just try to map it out. Okay. 3 calls a day. I need to close one of those calls every day. You won't. Sometimes you'll close 3 in one day and none in another. You make them realistic so you don't get totally bummed out with yourself all the time. But if you haven't got 3 bookings in the calendar and you haven't closed, it's all around what you're selling, because obviously real estate's very different to insurance sales. It's different to being a coach and selling a service. But you have to have that planning. How many listings do I need to get a day, a week, a month to? And I would then, in 60 calls, in 60 calls a month, I need to be getting 12 closes, 15 closes. And that's $150,000 a month. And if I don't get it that month, you've got to make it up the next month. What do I need to do? And that might mean that I know the more I'm on the phone or the more I'm on Zoom, the more sales I'm making. So, you just need to do your planning, projections, and then persistence. Just follow up. And you'll get 50% of your closes from that follow-up. You might not get as high, or you might get higher, but all I can say is that we get 50% on the follow-up. So, projections, you have to have some sort of sales targets. And I would say if you have a team, you've got to get them to do their own targets, like what they think they can achieve. If it's under what you need them to be achieving, you have to sort of sort that out. But that's getting really deep into managing teams and the rest of it. So,
and that would be a whole another couple of podcasts, I think.
Yeah.
I think if we come back to the starting question for new business owners, when you're doing your business plan and you may not be thinking sales, that the 3 Ps that we got around to are planning and
this is the business plan projecting,
and then persistence. So if we're including that in our business plan from the very beginning and having that mindset of service, that will really help in building our business.
And really start, I think if you have coded in a real negative mindset around selling, you need to start listening to different things online to change your behavior, change your beliefs and your behavior around selling. Because, selling's a beautiful thing, isn't it? When you think about it, how high do you feel when you've sold someone and you can help them? How high? Because first of all, you're getting revenue in your business, which feels really great, and then your business gets to do what it's best at. So it's an amazing thing. And the most incredible sellers on the planet understand that and make big money because they love to sell. So don't be poo-pooing the selling. It's the thing that makes the world go round. So you may as well get on board or go get a job.
Everywhere we look, we are being sold to.
And I would suggest that a lot of entrepreneurs start a business. They know they're technicians. They try to get a sales rep in. No one's going to love your business as much as you do. No one. And no one's going to know your business as well as you do. That's why I highly, 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 highly recommend you learn how to sell. You might not become the biggest expert seller on the planet, but you need to know how to sell your own stuff and be really happy to do so. My hubby started a business in solar power, and he handed over sort of the selling to this guy, and because he got too busy and blah, blah, blah. He couldn't sell like Curtis could sell. He didn't have the passion. He didn't have the dedication. You have to have someone that really believes in your business and is values, and then you have to train them properly, and then you have to motivate them consistently and lead them well. So get good at doing that for yourself first.
That is
my advice.
A great way to wrap up today's session. And I'm going to go and buy the E-Myth to listen to.
Good.
Yes.
Michael Gerber's E-Myth. Yep.
I feel very invigorated after our conversation and have a list of people that I will be following up.
Just get some structure in your selling, Shae, and that's for everybody. Get some structure, like make a commitment to yourself to reach out to 5 people on LinkedIn a day and don't let yourself down, or make 3 calls a day and don't let yourself down. The only way you'll get better is by doing and practicing and learning how to roll with the punches and not take it personally, but you've got to have that structure. I'm going to call 20 people a day. If you're just selling, 20 people a day, or I'm going, maybe not cold call, but whatever your business structure brings. For you, it's a reach out through LinkedIn, or a reach out through a connection, right? Or a reach out, whatever it is. So reach out to connections and say, is there anyone you know that could benefit from what I do? There are so many ways to get leads, but you have to be persistent every single day and have a minimum target that you never, ever compromise on. And you'll start to see big change in your business.
I'm excited. I hope our listeners are excited and inspired by our conversation today, because I'm already doing my planning in my head around how I can start to set some more concrete targets around my business.
Yeah, you got to have sales targets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I've got all these other forecasts on my wall, but I need to add my sales forecasts in.
Yes. Gosh, you don't have that up there? Then absolutely. That needs to be at the top.
Yeah, I've got my potential. Well, there is my potentials, but I could be doing more around it.
Well, if you have a potential revenue target, then you need to break it down to what that even means, don't you? So through your business plan too, this is revenue and this is where we're going to get it from. Yeah. And this is how we're going to do it.
I think that is a whirlwind of a podcast, and there is so much more we could unpack. And I'm glad we got the 3rd P.
Yeah, because it was to do with the business plan, which really the projections is part of your planning. But we're being twee, so that's good. But yeah, I hope there's a couple of tips in there that if you follow them, fantastic. But I guess my biggest thing is, if you can't sell, go learn how to sell, because it's a game changer for any entrepreneur, an absolute game changer. And you need to know and learn to love it. Learn how to do it and learn to love it. Become good at it. And the world is your oyster. Yes. And then, of course, make sure your company can deliver on promise. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for that inspirational chat today. It's always so lovely to talk to you, Marnie. And like I always say, I feel like I'm getting my own private coaching session. So thank you for spending the time with me again and our audience. And I can't wait to have you on the show again.
You're absolutely welcome, Shae. It's always a pleasure.
Have a great day. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Dr. Shae Wissell, and you have been listening to the Hobo CEO podcast. Head to rethinkdyslexia.com.au to find out more about today's guest speaker. To keep up to date with all of our news, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if you haven't done so yet, go to your favourite podcast platform, subscribe, rate and review this podcast. Join me next time for another conversation on the Hobo CEO.